Toyota has been building its legendary Tacoma pickup truck for untold decades. In that time, it has earned a status for bulletproof durability and the nickname Taco. How does Toyota do it? Well, for one thing, they're really patient, as in decade upon decade of patience. The downside to that patience are trucks like the Tacoma that almost never change. The upside is that when the Japanese automaker finally decides it's time for something new, that something is absolutely spectacular, as evidenced by its all-new 4th-generation Tacoma and specifically the bonkers Trailhunter variant. Before we dive into what makes this fresh-faced taco so amazing, would you kindly click the subscribe button below? Everyone here at motorythmm thanks you. Okay, so about Toyota's staggering levels of patience. Going back in time to 2016 is technically when the 3rd-generation Tacoma debuted. 8 model years is a pretty long time for any vehicle in the automotive universe. But really, the platform that this outgoing taco rode on was closer to 20 years old. That ancientness came with one major pro and one major con. The pro being the aforementioned durability. When an automaker can simply refine and tweak the same product one year after the next for 2 decades, it's almost guaranteed the engineers will perfect the recipe. This iterative process is arguably how Toyota's most famous pickup truck earned its bulletproof moniker. However, that reliability came at the expense of almost comically terrible ride quality. A wimpy 4-cylinder engine, that pile of metal strips known as leaf springs, and drum brakes, all of which help deliver a miserably uncomfortable cabin. Now, the Tacoma is a pickup truck, so some roughness around the edges is to be expected. But for heaven's sake, Toyota was charging upwards of $50,000 for this old lump of a truck. Is that a slam on Toyota? No, it's a well done, a kudos, a thundering applause, because what other automaker can lay claim to hordes of rabidly loyal fans willing to shell out big bucks for what amounted to be a 20-year-old pickup truck? Nicely done, Yoda. All to say, the brand new Tacoma is a really big deal. Toyota pulled out all the stops, some highlights. Base model years get a turbocharged 2.4-liter cylinder engine, good for up to 278 horsepower and 317 pound-feet of torque when paired with the 8-speed automatic and a bit less with the rev-matching 6-speed manual. Remember our earlier comment about the wimpy old 4-pod? That naturally aspirated wheeze bag, which displays 2.7 liters, was rated for just 159 horsepower and 180 pound-feet of twist. Yikes, not that exciting? Then try on the truly impressive iForce Max hybrid setup. Now, this is not your father's Prius hybrid. In taco form, the hybrid setup is aimed at more power. It consists of a 1.87 kilowatt-hour battery pack feeding an electric motor integrated within the transmission. On its own, this motor makes 48 horsepower and 148 pound-feet of torque. In combination with the internal combustion unit, total output jumps to 326 horses and 465 torques. Hello! Car nerds will know that ye old Tacoma offered a bigger motor in the form of a naturally aspirated 3.5-liter V6. It put the 4-pod to shame with 278 horsepower and 265 torque. But those figures come up 48 horsepower and 200 pound-feet of torque short of the all-new Max motor. Naturally, the incoming 2025 Tacoma Trailhunter will put this most mighty of motors to use. Fortunately, Toyota will continue to offer a real-deal 6-speed manual transmission in the new Tacoma. Unfortunately, it won't be available in the Trailhunter. Choose accordingly. Now, about that new suspension. Base model Tacomas will still come with a leaf-sprung rear end. It's a pickup truck after all, but the Trailhunter and the other high-spec variants will be riding on a multi-link rear suspension design. What's the big deal? Well, more articulation for one, which anyone out on the trail will appreciate. But for those times you're driving your Trailhunter through the Trader Joe's parking lot on your way to hardcore overlanding, of course, the lack of leaves means far less bouncing around inside the Tacoma. This is due to the more consistent rear axle behavior with a multi-link setup, as opposed to leaf springs that can move the axle forward and back throughout the compression and remount cycles. Traditionalists may balk at the more complex, more expensive to repair suspension on these Tacomas, but chances are the whining will subside once they find out how much comfier their taco is around town and on the trail. Of course, the Trailhunter is more than just a revised suspension geometry. Like Chevy did with the American Expedition vehicles and its Colorado off-roaders, Toyota has partnered with ARB out of Australia. This is the outfit behind the Old Man Emu shocks found on the Trailhunter. These position-sensitive 2.5-inch forged monotube dampers have rear external piggyback-style remote reservoirs. They're part of a system that imbues the Tacoma Trailhunter with a seriously capable 11 inches of ground clearance. The bronze-finish forged aluminum upper control arms embody embossed with Trailhunter logos also lend a hand here and look pretty cool in the process. And lo and behold, all Tacomas now get disc brakes at all four corners, Trailhunter included. Something the Trailhunter gets that the rest of the Tacoma lineup does not is a set of killer bronze-finished 18-inch wheels. Dig it! Wrapped in 33-inch Goodyear Territory all-terrain rubber, they further serve the overlanding design brief of this ultimate taco. Actually, in all seriousness, the designers use the phrase badass adventure machine when describing what they wanted to achieve with the 2025 Trailhunter. The new high-strength steel box ladder frame shared with the full-size Tundra is a less obvious contributor to this mission, but is a critical aspect of the more rigid structure. As you might expect, the Tacoma Trailhunter comes exclusively with four-wheel drive and an electronically locking rear differential. And did we mention some of the more visually obvious upgrades found on the Toyota's new range topper? We did not. Let us dive in. Functional add-ons include the big intake snorkel poking out of the hood and running up the A-pillar. It may look weird, but the idea is that it can provide cleaner air to the engine on particularly dusty trails. Then there are the big and beefy bumpers. Up front is a high clearance piece, while out back is an A or B source steel bumper with reinforced recovery points for when things get a bit too wild. The bronze finished and heritage inspired front grille with big Toyota block letters adds no function, but adds serious style. An integrated 20-inch LED light bar doesn't hurt either. LED fog lamps from Rigid can switch from yellow to white, while flared fenders add visual punch. Thoughtful Easter eggs include Trailhunter logos on the darkened headlight bezels, and functional touches include the hot-stamped high-strength steel skid pads. Then there are the rock rails, the high-clearance exhaust outlets, and the optional heavy-duty bed rack for setting up seemingly any accessory under the sun. Think rooftop tents, canopies, or perhaps a camp shower. Doomsday preppers, your rig has arrived, and it goes by the name of Trailhunter. Speaking of bugging out during the zombie apocalypse, these new Tacoma Trailhunters have other cool tricks to make said escape less stressful, like an ability to climb an 8% grade without downshifting, or crawl control for when you need to take her real easy coming down the other side. Not to mention the stabilizer disconnect mechanism, clearly named by an engineer. This system does just what it sounds like and frees up the front end for maximum articulation. Now, you didn't think that was everything the 2025 Tacoma Trailhunter was capable of, did you? Surely not for a roughly $64,000 asking price. Around back, buyers have a choice of a 5 or 6 foot bed, a bed that contains a high output air compressor. This is handy for hardcore trail work or pumping up your kids' bike tires before school. There's also a 2400 watt AC inverter for when you need serious electricity. Of course, we haven't even explored the cabin on these killer tacos yet. Let's get to it. Though Toyota makes the new Tacoma available as an extended cab, the Trailhunter is a crew cab only. And what a nice cab it is. Dual zone automatic climate control, Softex upholstery, heated and ventilated front bucket seats with power adjustment, a heated leather wrapped steering wheel, plus a moonroof. Who says you have to rough it to be a real overlander? Thankfully, something the new Tacoma retains that its forebears made famous is a rear window that opens vertically. For whatever reason, this amazing feature has been largely ignored by other truck makers and, as a result, has become a signature Toyota feature. Love it. However, something you will not find on the Tacoma Trailhunter are Toyota's new isodynamic performance seats. Reserved exclusively for the TRD Pro model, these front buckets use an air-over-shock absorber system to keep vertical and lateral seat movements tight. Adjustable via levers on the seat backs, the whole 4-way shock absorption setup is visible thanks to an exposed design. The goal is to decouple occupants' body movement from that of the truck body. Sounds cool, looks even cooler. The coolest would be if these trick thrones were available on the Trailhunter, but sadly, they are not. As for modern technology, the 2025 Trailhunter is comprehensively equipped. A huge 14-inch touchscreen handles infotainment duty, including wireless integration of Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. The analog gauge cluster is replaced by a fully digital 12.3-inch screen, replete with customizable settings. Audiophiles will no doubt appreciate the 10-speaker audio system and the JBL Flex portable Bluetooth speaker. Not only can you remove it from the truck, you can submerge it into 3 feet of water without ruining it. Why would anyone dunk a speaker into a river? We do not know, but hey, now you can find out. Pre-wired auxiliary switches on the dashboard await connections to giant exterior light bars or whatever other fun overlanding systems you can cook up. A digital rearview mirror comes in handy when the bed of your Trailhunter is loaded up for going off the grid, though these camera-based systems can take some getting used to. Then there's the head-up display, which projects important details like speed up on the windshield and a wireless smartphone charging pad and a 3D multi-terrain monitor. All this tech is nifty, but that last one is truly handy for getting a close close-up look at what is directly in front of, around, and behind your high-dollar Tacoma. Toyota is not currently offering the Big Bad Trailhunter in its full range of Tacoma paint finishes. Options are limited to black, ice cap white, celestial silver metallic, underground, or bronze oxide. But we're not going to hold this limited paint palette against Toyota, not when the new Trailhunter is such an incredibly magnificent machine.